All right, let's get moving forward with our FY27 budget public hearing. We are going to open up tonight with our student report.
So to start, so far during this school year, the 2025-2026, we have 49 seniors, which is 29% of the student body for seniors, are enrolled in school to career internships, and we continue to expand our Quincy College dual enrollment offerings, which we briefly talked about last meeting.
Also, Scituate High School had 73% of students who took at least one AP exam last year during high school. 84% of students who took an exam earned a 3 or better. So that's pretty good. Also, a big congrats to the math team. They had a 48-point showing at Cohasset. And they wanted us to shout out Corbin Ward, who had a career high of 4 points.
Excellent.
So shout out to Corbin.
Along with this, the Stress Less, Laugh More initiative took place towards the end of January. And this is just like a week-long thing to spread awareness about mental health and teach students to practice healthy coping mechanisms with it, because it has become a prominent part of our society and like this age group. So I think it's a really good initiative to take place in high school especially.
Recently, 125 SHS business students competed at the DECA District 1 conference. I spoke to a lot of the students. I talked to Mr. Mackey. He said it was a big success. So I know DECA is a great program and our kids really like going to it.
Also, I feel like we mention this every meeting, but college decisions keep coming in, which once again, it's always exciting to see, but the town scholarships will be opening up soon. So seniors, it's something to look out for and start applying for, which is exciting in the beginning of February.
Oh yeah. I also just wanted to shout out one student who has a project he wanted me to share. Luke Hanley's a junior at Scituate and part of his his civic action project last year with his two partners, Will Hine and Emmy Corkins. They built a website to help freshmen acclimate to SHS on incoming 8th graders. It has information to help them get involved in clubs, activities, and other general advice to make for a smooth transition into the building. He's been continuing to work on it this year and is trying to get it included in the SHS website. I know the website's already been published, but I kind of wanted to bring that up and just say that was something he's been working on and yeah, shout that out.
What is the website? Do you know the URL?
I don't. I can reach out to him and ask for it though. Yeah. I think that's everything from us. You guys have any questions? All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Fantastic. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Rob for our budget.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Brandolini, members of the committee. I'm very pleased to present our FY 2027 school budget in the amount of $55,029,061, or 4.5% more than our current year. We can start the slide.
Okay, so I'm there. You just go to the page. Oops.
This budget is a combination of $50,294,317 from the town of Scituate and $4,734,744 from a combination of state and federal grants. And you know that we have revenue from non-resident tuition, bus fees, sports events receipts, PAC revenue, and preschool tuition. I would like to personally thank the Financial Forecast Committee, consisting of representation from the school committee, select board, capital planning, as well as town administrator, town accountant, and town finance director, the school superintendent, and our director of finance. We meet regularly to review and track spending and make adjustments to the budget. It's been extraordinarily helpful to have these numbers well in advance of the budget presentation for planning and implementation. Our FY27 budget is largely a level services budget. That means there are no proposed staffing cuts, and where expenses are moved, it is in response to a planned curriculum need. We have the funding to continue all of the great things we're doing, as well as fund the curriculum plan that Mr. Lynch is going to discuss in a moment. We are moving forward with confidence and on a solid financial footing here in Scituate. Since our enrollment is stable for next year, we do not need to add a significant amount of staff. And we're accommodating enrollment spikes in different grade levels through staff transfers, which the principals will talk about in a moment. Earlier this evening, we talked about adding a 0.6 drama teacher at the high school, and that fills a long-standing need and has already been incorporated into the FY27 budget presentation that you'll hear this evening. Everything that you hear this evening will be consistent with our strategic objectives of teaching, learning, and leading, communication, finance, facilities, personnel, and technology, and you'll see these themes throughout the presentation this evening. So the order of operations, a little different than we've done in the past. Rather than myself and Mrs. Houle doing the entire hour-and-a-half presentation, we've broken it up, and this evening you'll hear very brief 5-minute presentations from each department chair, curriculum coordinator, director, and principal, outlining the budget priorities in their area. They're in the best position to discuss the needs in their department or in their school. After that, Mrs. Houle and I will quickly run through the slide deck highlighting any areas that weren't discussed. During the presentations, you'll start to hear what has been budgeted. However, our district leaders will also let you know about personnel that would be beneficial but beyond the scope of our current budget. And I've asked them to do that. I've asked them to advocate for what they need that we couldn't necessarily include in this year's budget. If additional funding becomes available, these are the types of positions that I'll ask the committee to consider in the future. So let's begin with Ryan Lynch, our awesome assistant superintendent, who will walk us through the adopted curriculum plan. I have to read what I wrote. Sounds great. Sounds great. It's the framework by which our curriculum is funded and determined every year.
Great, thank you, Dr. Rob. At this phase, we will go by content area, department, and school to review budget requests and intended outcomes. We're going to start with the elementary humanities and STEM, followed by elementary principles as outlined on the slide. To frame the curriculum work underway in 25 and 26, and to look ahead to 26-27, we provided a link to the curriculum management plan and the cycle that we developed last year. The curriculum plan and cycle shows we are implementing this current year the new History Social Studies program in 6 through 12. We are also in the recommend or pilot phase for ELA 6 through 12 and elementary science, while elementary ELA is in the review phase. For 26-27, we will be implementing new texts and continuing targeted PD in 6 through 12 ELA and moving forward with new programming in elementary science. Elementary ELA will be piloting programs in 26-27. World language and counseling will be starting the curriculum review phase in 26-27. I just want to frame that at the beginning, so as we hear from our department content leaders, we're listening for sort of moving forward with our curriculum review cycle. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Heather Allen and Megan Gregory, who will go through elementary STEM and elementary humanities to start us off.
Good evening, I'm Heather Allen. I'm the STEM curriculum coordinator. So we'll just jump right in. For math, for FY27, there's very few changes. There's some minor changes for math consumables just due to student numbers. So some are going down, some are going up, depending on the building and the grade level, but very minor. The biggest ask in terms of math for next year is that after reviewing the data, we identified a fluency as an area of need for math fluency. So in the fall, we piloted and adopted an online fluency program for grades 2 to 5. So we want to continue the use of that next year. So that's why you will see the increase in the contracted service for supplemental math programs. So that's roughly $680 per building, which is $3 per student. So that's the only real change for math. Science, you'll see, because as Ryan stated, we're in the middle of a curriculum review, there is an increase. So the figures in our budget represent one of the programs that we're considering. The goal of the review is to identify a program or programs that's rigorous, provides students with more hands-on learning experiences, gets students excited about science, and also is manageable for our elementary school teachers who teach multiple content areas as a goal. the numbers you will see here, that this example that I shared with you is just an example of one building, just so you get a sense. And then highlighted in yellow is the total change. So while it seems pretty aggressive, the change in amount in supplies, if you look at the total, it's not as dramatic. It's roughly $2,800 per school with a new curriculum adoption. So it's not as crazy. And then the last line for the science, you will see an increase of roughly $12,000 because when we roll out a new curriculum program, we're going to need professional development to support our teachers to have a successful rollout. So that is where the changes are for science. And then when you get into the next section, which has to do with our STEM teacher, the two asks there are for additional 3D printers to support the STEM class, 3D printers with the accompanying filament, and then our STEM teacher is asking for a new typing program. The current one we're using a free version, and the pop-ups and the ads are making it almost impossible for him to use. So those are the big budget items for STEM.
All right, I'm Megan Gregory. I'm the Humanities Curriculum Coordinator, and looking at the reading supply lines, there's some variations between schools due to number of students at each grade level and potential new classrooms. The biggest change you'll see is numbers that were in our reading supply line and our contracted service line are all moving into reading text. So reading text looks bigger, but it's combining, we use foundations for K-2 foundational skills. They're offering us to bundle our consumables, which are our workbooks, our online platform, and our durables, like when we need to replace magnet boards and whiteboards. They're bundling all that together to help save us money. So it looks like there's a jump when you're looking at the reading text line, but it's really just taking from those other two lines to put it in there, and it's saving us some money, which is great. When you look at the reading text line, that is largely those consumables for foundations. That line also includes our consumables for MyView K-5, but that's at $0 right now because when we purchased MyView, it was at a 6-year subscription. So that will take us through the end of 28. And we're currently at the very beginning of our curriculum review cycle to start looking at the strengths and needs of our how our students are performing and how our teachers are able to best use those materials and thinking about moving forward. Social studies lines are pretty much the same. There is, this year we did pilot investigating history, which we're using in 5th grade. We piloted in 3rd and 4th grade. 3rd grade is moving forward with adopting it next year, which is exciting. 4th grade is waiting to see, they're making some changes to the program over the summer. So once the changes happen, they'd like to take a look at it and pilot one more before making a decision. But 3rd grade is ready to move forward. It's an open source program. It's no cost to us to use. The only cost is through a printer to get some printed materials so teachers can have an actual teacher's manual, but it's a pretty nominal cost. Just printing those things out. The cost, again, like science, would be for professional development. So you'll see that in the contract services lines. Under professional development, we would get some PD for those 3rd grade teachers to roll out investigating history. In that contract service line also is related to our ELA curriculum review. We surveyed all of our pre-K to 5 teachers about strengths and needs and in terms of what they need in terms of professional development and materials, and the by far number one need in professional development is writing. So we put a line in there for district PK to 5 next year, writing professional development.
saw that.
Thank you, Megan and Heather. I just want to remind the committee that these, each of these lines that are being spoken about, you can link right through to the documents. You've probably already seen them, but just to remind you if you want to go deeper.
Yes, I'm just gonna give everyone an example. There's one right there. That's what it would look like if you were to do that. And I'll go back to where we were.
At this time, we're pleased to invite up our elementary principal team who will speak about each of the building lines. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for having us. I'll kick us off as I just learned 6 seconds ago that we always go in alphabetical order.
I offered
I
to
didn't
Steve.
realize that. But I think
knew the order reason rationale. but
here we
now it
go.
makes sense.
C is for Cushing. I think what you're gonna find is that we've collaborated a great deal on these budget presentations, so this shouldn't take too long. If you look at each of the elementary budgets submitted to you, you'll notice that many of the lines, the majority of the lines are content or discipline specific. So lucky for us, you get to hear from our curriculum coordinators, as you just did. You'll continue to hear from our department chairs about those particular line items. So there are really only about 3 line items that the 4 of us can speak to you about. The first line item I'll speak for Cushing is just our building administrative supplies. Those are things that help make the office run smoothly and the building run smoothly. And those at Cushing are level funded for next year. In addition, I can speak to the general supplies line, which is also level funded for fiscal year 26-27. And those are consumable classroom supplies, things for the students to get the work done each and every day. When we talk about Cushing and Hatherley's situation next year, a level funded budget makes the most sense for buildings that will close their doors in June of 2027. So our goal is to operate our buildings safely and effectively during their final years. And this budget preserves the core academic, social, emotional, learning experiences, enrichment experiences that our students, our staff, our families, and our community are used to at Cushing and Hatherley. And it reflects our commitment to meeting our families' expectations that each student should receive a high quality education regardless of the new building project. I would like to highlight another line item for you, and that is Cushing's new equipment building line, that new equipment line. That this year was used to purchase a Chromebook cart for our 5th grade students. The teachers have expressed interest in another Chromebook cart, and so that $5,000 of Chromebook cart costs about $4,800. So that $5,000 line right there is probably going to go to that next year. And then I just want to reiterate from the Cushing perspective, our largest line item looks to be the science line item. And that's just to support the wonderful work happening with the curriculum review process in science, and to promote the hands-on learning that I've seen firsthand provide our students with some of the most engaging experiences they have throughout our day. So we're excited to continue that work at Cushing. And without further ado, next in the alphabet would be my sister school, Hatherley.
I like this introduction. So as Kate was saying, at Cushing and Hatherley, we are level funded. We just want to make sure that our students have the same standard and level of education as every other school in Scituate. And our buildings are, we're holding them together. So one of the good things that I just wanted to highlight here is we make sure that we fix things. So
Every day.
HVAC, plumbing, roofing, all of those things that would really take away from the students' education, the districts make sure that they're taken care of and taken care of quickly. So that students are still able to learn and still in a building that keeps the rain out. So as Kate said, we have our administrative supplies, our general supplies. Those are just the things that keep us functioning. New equipment for this year, we purchased 3 Chromebook carts just for organizational purposes. So that was a big line item for us. We don't need to buy another one for next year as far as we know. Staffing requests. We have next year, our sub-separate program, the learning centers. Right now, we have 14 students within those 2 centers. That's large for us. We will not be losing any students for next year, moving on to Gates, so we're just gaining students. So the plan is to hire another special education teacher and have a 3rd classroom. Hatherley, for some reason, is growing at this time, which is like maybe not the best time to grow, but currently we have 3 sections of K1 and 2, and then 2 sections of 3 to 5. Next year we will have 3 sections of K1, 2, and 3. So I believe that extra position is coming through attrition and retirements, so that's why that isn't on here. I apologize for one thing not being here, because Tom and I discussed this after I submitted this, but currently Hatherley has 1.8 reading specialists, so 1 reading specialist full-time, another one is 4 days. Next year, if we have a similar size kindergarten, we'll be up at 299 students per se. And I would love to see that 2nd reading specialist become full-time as it is in the other buildings. A shared goal is looking forward to having a shared elementary media specialist to replace, so we have paraprofessionals in the library right now. Excited about the new science curriculum. I think having more hands-on materials really goes toward giving students the knowledge that they need, the interest that they need in what they're doing, and making things real for them. So that is exciting. And that's really all the changes that we have for Hatherley. Thank you.
The one thing I would clarify is we have been able to incorporate the additional special education teacher and the additional 3rd grade teacher into the budget. So they are there already. Should funds become available, the shared elementary library media specialist and an additional 0.2 for reading is certainly in top of mind, but not technically included.
It's really amazing the Hatherley growth that, like you're pointing out, Christine, because it really has. I mean, I can remember when it was sort of at that two sections per grade, and now
Yes.
you're at 3 across the board then.
No, we have 4th and 5th will still be
4th
2.
and 5th, so headed in that trend though.
Yes.
So that's change.
It's a change.
Good evening, I'm Mary Oldak, the principal at Jenkins. As Kate and Christine have said, our building administrative supplies and general supplies are very common across all 4 schools. I did want to point out that at Jenkins, we have been level funded in both of those accounts since FY24, and it's been keeping that level funding has been just fine. I think our teachers have everything and our students have what they need every day. And if they don't, we have been able to fund it out of what we have in that budget. I do a Google survey at the beginning of every budget year asking if there's anything extraordinary that would go outside of our general supplies or administrative supplies. And every year I get 4 or 5 things like a measle board or mailbox station, and we're able to easily fund those. So feel very comfortable with that level funding since FY24. The biggest change at Jenkins is the building new equipment. You will see about a $35,000 uptick in that line item. Next year will be the 3rd year of that, and that's primarily to fund new desks and chairs for grades 1 through 5. All of the furnishings in Jenkins are pretty much all of them are original to the building, which was built in 2001. And so we're slowly starting with 5th grade, moving our way down, replacing all the desks and chairs. We're being very careful to work with the same vendor, making sure the desks are the same and interchangeable, that they're, the height can be moved up and down so that we can move them between the grades if we need to. So in FY25, we took care of what was missing in 5th grade and purchased the desks and chairs for 4th grade. This year, we were able to go ahead and get the desks for 3rd grade desks and chairs. We also, as the other schools have mentioned, had about $5,000 in computer cards for 5th grade. That was primarily driven by the fact that 5th graders were no longer taking their Chromebooks home to charge, so we needed to be able to charge them in school. And our nurses suite needed a new desk and record storage. So that's how that 35,000, how we're looking at the expenditures for that this year. So next year we're going to move down to first and second grade, and then we'll have all of our desks taken care of. I did want to mention under staffing requests at our MCAS presentations back in the fall, I did advocate for another 1.0 math specialist at Jenkins. We're looking just for some equitable coverage for our student base in terms of caseload and opportunity for our math specialists. We currently have one, and we have 2 reading specialists that the students would receive the same type of support for math as they do for reading. For capital expenditures, it's been very exciting over at Jenkins. We have a new roof, we have new windows that open and close, no more dripping ceilings. And so I have to say how much we all so much appreciate the fact that the town really places a priority on that for keeping our schools taken care of. You know, it's the staff really appreciates it. They were so excited about the new windows, and the kids too. And you know that just that is a priority is very meaningful. So thank you for that. Next thing on our wish list will be new floors and painting the inside, and as we look towards capital budgets in the years ahead. I did just want to also mention that we did have a first floor flood back in October. There was completely covered by district insurance, but the remediation of that was $59,000, just the remediation of it, and Service Master did an incredible job. A few, almost $4,000 worth of replacement of personal items and the other repair costs of floor and ceiling tiles. When I was talking about staffing, I forgot to mention that I did want to say we have 2 retirements coming up. Jen Farwell in first grade with 38 years and Jeannie Korean with 24 years of experience. They'll both be retiring this June, so we'll be looking to fill those very big shoes. Thank you.
Good evening, Tracy Reardon, Principal at Wampatuck. So our building admin supplies line has also been level funded since FY24. We have used some of that money to start replacing the teacher desks and chairs, so similar to Jenkins. Our furniture has been around a long time. I don't know since when, but things are falling apart. So we've tried to slowly replace those desks and chairs. So that line item, I've used the money from that item to do that. So we've done about 3 or 4 a year over the past few years. And actually, Audra and I were talking about that today, looking ahead to purchasing some for this current year. We also bought the grade 5 computer cards for the Chromebooks, just like the other buildings did. Our general supply line has also been level funded, $14,000, and like Mary, I find that's perfectly acceptable. We've never had to go over that. I tell teachers all the time, don't buy anything with your own money, come and ask first, because we can, for the most part, fund what you need between us and also the PTO, which is also super generous. And in this is my 6th year at Wampatuck, and we've never gone over that. So that's a good amount for us. For building new equipment, like Mary at Jenkins, we've had the $35,000 in the line to start replacing furniture. We have also done that. We have completely redone the library at Wampatuck. It's like an extreme home makeover. It's amazing. And a lot of that was funded through PTO, but it was also funded through this line item. This year we have 4 third grade classrooms. We replaced all desks, chairs, teacher tables. We added some flexible seating in those rooms, and all 4 rooms have all the same furniture. We have ordered 2 more sets coming, so our 2 second grades are going to have new furniture March 16th. And like Mary Jenkins, we went with the same furniture. It's all very adjustable. My request is it has to last at least 15 to 20 years. So we'll stick with the same vendor, and also that furniture can be moved within classes and grade levels, pretty much second, third, fourth. Once you get to K1, you're talking about probably shorter, yeah. The staffing requests also put in for increasing a math specialist from 1.0 to 2.0, same rationale Mary talked about, and also like Christine talked about, a shared library media specialist. We do also have some retirements at Wampatuck this year. And so we are going to be reducing a SPED teacher. We have 6 currently right now. That 6th position was added to Wampatuck. This is our 3rd year with it when our SPED numbers were up at 70. For next year, we're forecasted to be at about 52. So with that reduction of caseload, it made sense to reduce the SPED teacher. So which I don't, that person isn't leaving. I think it's just going to be like moved to another building. For capital expenditures, we've had a complete remodel of our nurses suite, which I know has been talked about here. Fully accessible nurses suite with the only fully accessible bathroom in our building currently. We've also added railings, automatic door openers, an accessible ramp outside to our upper playground. We added a new accessible serving counter in the cafeteria. And this summer, we're having the side painted. So we're just a little step ahead of you, Mary. And then we have new accessible student bathrooms coming for next year. So that is in the process. I think that's out to bid right now. So hopefully starting this summer. Lots of great things happening in Wampatuck. It's very accessible. So anyone can come and move about the building freely. Any questions we can answer?
Of course, I have to ask a question. I know that math's kind of been our focus because we've seen, performance and assessments and so on. And I'm just curious, Tracy and Mary, and I guess Heather, is I'm glad that you guys have in here potential increase of a math specialist. Can you tell me help me understand a little bit about how that works? Do you guys recommend that? Does Heather recommend that? Where does that recommend? Does it come from the teachers? I'm kind of trying to understand where that recommendation comes from. Because it's in your report as a building principal. But I guess in my mind, I'd expected it to come from, I'm not really sure, I guess. I was hoping you can understand how that ends out.
We've certainly been talking with Heather about
It's just not, if I could put it in there, I would. I just don't do personnel, just curriculum. I fully support it. All of the math specialists. But it just doesn't live in my.
Okay, that's helpful. Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
I just want to say I appreciate your attention to the furniture. I mean, it seems like, a non-glamorous line item, but it's really important, I think, for just parents, for that equity piece too, with like seeing a new school building open and having brand new everything, that we maintain that we want to put money, and we've committed to that. And we've been talking about for years since the school project began that we're really serious about ensuring equity among what will be 3 schools, and that everybody gets, what we can fund. And so obviously, the way that you're doing it is smart, just to sort of like piece by piece to be able to afford it all in such, what is somewhat of a tight budgeting stretch of time for every district. So it's great that we're able to be making new purchases just smartly and slowly over time. So thank you.
Thank you.
And central office too. You're all involved. Team efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next we'll invite up Laura Messner, Sam Lesniak, Tara Simonak, and Patrick Newton to talk about ELA, social studies, math, and science, tech, and engineering.
Ryan, is there a way to click on these so that people in the public can see? Or
We can do that. We had decided not to while they were speaking, because it tends to be very distracting.
We make the view, or the default view on the people and not on the PowerPoint then.
I'm sorry.
We take the PowerPoint
Oh,
off
sure.
the default view.
Let's take the PowerPoint down.
Yeah, for
Okay.
people who are at home
We can do
watching.
that.
Just for the recording
Then
and
they
stuff
look
too,
great,
it's just
yeah.
gonna be,
They're just
it's just
looking
been
at
a
the
list,
static
Great
static
idea,
list,
yeah.
20 minutes.
Sorry, I don't think of that.
No, it's okay. We all have our
We think of
film
these
and
things
TV
because-
degrees now too. For producing, there we go. That's
That was why I took a minute a little bit earlier, just to show people who were watching, hey, if you guys are looking at this on a computer, you can do this.
right.
But that was the reason why we didn't keep doing it speaker by speaker.
Okay.
Okay, I guess we'll get started. So I'm Laura Messner, I'm the 6 to 12 English department chair. Thank you for having us tonight. I know I was under explicit instructions not to read my narrative, and I won't, but I did want to read just the first paragraph because I feel like it sort of sets us up for what I wanted to talk about. So we are under curriculum review, which looks very different in English than I think it does in other subject areas. So I just wanted to let you know there are substantial and temporary increases in most budget categories, but these increases fall into 3 chunks, if you will. Professional development, so that we are investing not just in resources, but in our human capital. Text purchases and technology purchases. So just to give you a very quick overview of kind of what our review has looked like and kind of where we've been so that you can understand where we're going. Over the last year and a half or so, we have participated in a variety of tasks, some of which have been aided with contractors like Hill for Literacy, and some of which we have leaned on the human capital that we are investing further in. So we have done a standards alignment, we've vertically aligned our writing practices, we have participated in level differentiation, we've done a needs assessment of our literacy practices, which has resulted in a literacy plan from Hill for Literacy. We have begun targeted improvements in our courses and units, and we have begun the process of benchmarking, which is new for secondary, or fairly new, at least in the sort of formalized capacity that we've been doing it. This year in our recommend and develop phase, we have piloted new anchor texts at varying courses and levels. We have we have committed to our differentiated CP and honors instructional model at the high school. We continue to fine tune our tiered literacy intervention at Gates. We have identified trouble spots where additional resources are needed, like with AI, with our language standards, with our grade 12 course offerings, and have begun to formulate plans to address those. So some of the budget items sort of go towards things like that. We are working on embedding adolescent literacy practices in our instruction with the aid of our Hill for Literacy PD, which we started this year. We are also piloting new benchmarks that are better aligned with our standards. Next year, so this is the focus of the funds that are being requested, we would like to continue to collect data to determine the effectiveness of our curriculum and make text purchases accordingly. We would like to build our teacher capacity with authentic writing instruction, curriculum writing, and adolescent literacy practices, which are different than most of the universe of literacy is really that's familiar to people is foundational literacy, and adolescent literacy is a whole another ballgame. So we're really investing in equipping our teachers to meet students' needs there. We want to refine our 6 to 12 curriculum to ensure that it is rigorous, authentic, and flexible, and to make sure our instruction is adaptive. And then finally, we are investing in technology aids to assist teachers with digital guidance and accountability with our students. So that's in a nutshell.
Not much going on. Good.
Nothing much happening.
I'm Sam Lesniak, I'm the Social Studies Department Chair for 6 through 12. I think before I talk to what's on my budget narrative, the most obvious thing to me is what's not on here, which is the 6 to 12 curriculum texts that were purchased last year, which was a major investment, and teachers, I just feel like I need to say, have been working steadily to incorporate them into their daily practice and their units, first through PD time, but then also every educator in our department also adopted as one of their professional practice goals this year. So that work is ongoing and it's not present here, but I just feel like
it's a huge thing that needs to be mentioned. So what is on here for next year? Really three big things: supplies, general supplies, but also this funds our civic action projects, which we've talked to you about a lot of times. I think just updates, we have a slight increase due to enrollment numbers. Also, we're funding students to go to the statewide showcase. So last year we sent 4 student groups, which is wonderful. This year we hope to send more. And also new this year, it's also going to fund, we have 5 students applying to be statewide civic showcase leaders, which means they are statewide leaders who help DESE. They give advice on the project, but also act as leaders on the day of, like greeting people and helping people sort of figure out how the day goes. So I think it's just an awesome opportunity that's funded for kids. The other thing it funds is our district memberships and state and national social studies organizations. And I mentioned that it's a biannual purchase, but we get so much from that. So we were lucky to send several educators this year to the national conference. We had one educator actually present on the national stage. Ms. Emerson presented about her women's history elective that she developed, essentially teaching people across the nation how you could develop this in your own school, which is so amazing. And also, as of last week, we also have 3 educators who are going to present at our statewide showcase in March. So I just feel like these opportunities offer teachers a chance to get resources, but also to develop as individuals, which is awesome. The next big chunk is really our text. It's pretty low compared to last year, but what's there is really just our digital news subscriptions. As you can probably imagine, it's a really hard time to teach current events right now, and we always strive to give kids multiple perspectives and age-appropriate materials, and so we wanted to expand our news subscriptions a little bit just to make sure we have that covered. And then another part of that is to fund WinBlock support materials to help Gates. Help students at Gates. Teachers really wanted some core text that they could use in their sessions, and so that will be funded next year. The last chunk is really just for mock exams. So social studies in the past has not actually had mock exams because they were not offered through our partnership with Mass Insight. We're independently contracting them this year as well as next year. So what does that actually fund? Well, 250 students, I wrote down the stats. 250 students are currently enrolled in a history AP. That's 36% of the student body, which I think is amazing. And so those students will now get a chance to have a mock exam to hopefully improve their results, which I just feel like I need to shout out. 86% of our students who took a history AP course last year scored 3 or higher. So they're doing really well already, but always room for improvement. And so this will offer them a chance to sort of grow their skills. Thank you. I got the data really nice.
Hi, I'm Tara Simak. I'm the 6th through 12th math department chair. And this year, the math department budget is focusing on continuing to maintain a high quality instructional resources while supporting our professional growth. Our goal is to move forward to a student-centered classroom where students are active, confident problem solvers. I'm just going to toss these on because it's going to be a little easier for you to see. Which is the age. To do this, we are prioritizing instructional mastery as well as digital support. Our continued partnership with consultant Allison Mello cultivates a mastery of research-backed instructional practices while we're implementing our new program, as we sort of we're coming down in a row of where we are in our sequence of implementing. This is paired with technology that provides an interactive platform for daily instruction, keeping students engaged while addressing the needs of struggling learners through targeted intervention materials and manipulatives necessary to close foundational gaps. We also budgeted for the physical tools, the manipulatives, and calculators that bridge the gap between abstract numbers and concrete understanding. These funds also support our Gates and high school math teams, providing our highest achieving students with a competitive arena to push their limits and excel. In addition to focusing on expanding our instructional methods and skills, we are increasing the use of formative benchmarking of students, as Laura mentioned earlier. The increased use of STAR benchmark data helps teachers to design win groups, making sure every student receives specific tiered support during the school day. This data also serves as a critical guide for course placement, which we're right in the middle of right now, allowing us to match students with the appropriate level of challenge for long-term success. So in summary, we're focusing sort of this year on instructional coaching and technology, as well as benchmarking programs, in order to ensure that every student in our schools has the instruction tools and resources that they need to succeed in math. Well, in everything. But I'm mostly worried about that.
I'm Patrick Newton, Department Chair, Science, Technology, and Engineering for 6 through 12. I bring the good news of slightly decreased requests this year, which is not normal for my department. Along the way, and I'm going a little out of order, one of the things is, as we've kind of come down the list here of curriculum adoption, we are halfway through. At this point, we have what we need. So there is not a request at this point for anything related to textbooks or curriculum materials. We have been very fortunate, and thank you to Julie Ward, who is inevitably somewhere behind me, that our environmental stewardship innovation career pathways has $70,000 to spend on materials and technology related to that end. That is a great resource for us right now. And as part of that, connecting back here, you'll see our normal equipment repair line. That's things like recalibrating microscopes and scales and things of that nature. Well, we're currently fortunate enough to be able to just get brand new ones, which would be great for us, rather than trying to fix these things that are older than me in some cases. So we're in great shape there. One thing that comes up as kind of strange in my request is the industrial tech supply line. That's really engineering. So when people look at this and they're, what is industrial technology? We don't have that. That's our engineering courses. We continue to look to grow our high school project lead the way engineering program. Thankfully, we can do that on a level funded basis because we've already invested so heavily in the durable goods, tools and other equipment as such, as well as some more grants that Julie has helped us write and procure along the way. There are some hidden things kind of in here. For example, our Project Lead the Way membership fees have to fall in here also. So they end up in a supply line. At Gates, again, it looks like a decrease, but it's really kind of a return to earlier numbers. We were able to get a refresh on some materials last year. And so now we're kind of moving back towards the normal consumables that we would use on a regular basis. So with slight decreases, we're able to provide all the great opportunities we've been offering to kids.
Thank you. Questions, anyone? Thank you so much, guys.
Well, the next presenters are coming up. I just wanted to mention the cost of the consultants in many of these cases are embedded in professional development budget. So there's a separate budget for professional development under Mr. Lynch's budget. So for
Is that in the Excel spreadsheet? That's our.
yes, it is. It should be. It should be.
I'm sure you can pay for it.
I know, yeah,
And
actually.
the-
I would rather-
It's that says, just why curriculum.
Yeah, curriculum
Analysis, elements.
That's what I was asking.
That's it.
Okay.
And that's embedded in.
Thank you.
Good evening. I guess I'll get started. The narrative that I supplied kind of touches upon 4 different buckets: personnel, technology upgrades, accessibility for all students improvements, and kind of a proactive versus reactive mindset to the CPA. In terms of the personnel upgrades, we're obviously really excited about offering a drama curriculum at the high school level. That'll be pretty awesome. We've made some nuanced changes to Josh Heath, our tech director's job, so that now it includes elements at Gates, the black box, and the dining room area. So that should help. In addition, we have our piano accompanist increase some hours due to the change in the Gates schedule. The tech upgrades are really exciting. The Scituate High School art wing, the iMacs that were dated back to 2006, I believe, were all replaced. And in the music technology room, we had a complete overhaul of the equipment in there, which has been substantial and now puts us on a solid footing with the current technology available to the kids. The CPA budget is now aligned with its needs. One of the initial challenges that we had is it was all obviously new equipment, and we had to source out good quality vendors and also kind of vet that process so we were staying in front of the equipment needs rather than reacting to a need. And we've adjusted the budget accordingly so that we can, I think, deal with what comes our way in a responsible way. That gives you a little taste.
Thank you, Jen. So 4 different content areas that I oversee, so I'm just going to take them in order, try to be as brief as I can be. I'll get a little long-winded at times. So it's with a high level of anticipation and appreciation that our business education supply line item will actually be level funded. Now, why am I excited and appreciative of this? It's because we're able to take our students' program to the next level through the ICP grant, the Capital Skills Grant, which Mr. Newton talked a little bit about. We look forward to expanding hands-on production opportunities, including video creation and merchandising and merchandise production for our Shipyard School store in-house. I want to have a special shout out to Julie Ward for her expertise and collaboration on securing this grant. So Julie, big shout out there. Thank you so much. Business line text, there is an increase, probably a 1-year increase in this line item of $10,000 as it represents the budget estimate to procure curriculum materials for the new AP Business with Personal Finance course, which is an exciting advancement for our department. We're super pumped. Next area is our Family and Consumer Sciences, our Applied Nutrition at Gates and Culinary Arts at the high school level. With respect to Applied Nutrition at Gates and Culinary Arts at the high school, these funds are used for groceries, cleaning supplies, paper products, replacement of light equipment. There's a nominal increase at the high school level to cover rising grocery costs, which I'm sure every family can understand, and Gates will remain level funded. We are excited to build upon our relationship with Holly Hill Farm as we continue to enhance applied nutrition programming at Gates. Another quick sailor shout out to Ryan Lynch. Ryan, thank you for identifying grant funds to help us advance this meaningful relationship with Holly Hill. Teachers love it. It's embedded PD as we work with Holly Hill as well. Next area is our health education area. Elementary health education funds are used to purchase consumable supplies to facilitate health lessons, including props, models, posters. Elementary funds are level funded. At the secondary level, these supplies are for projects, first aid, CPR materials such as face shields, mannequin replacements, and subscriptions such as Scholastic Choices. There is a nominal $125 increase that was requested for the high school to adjust for inflation and operating materials for high school health classes. As a benefit of recent collaborations with South Shore Digital Wellness, we've secured non-LEA funds to enhance digital wellness programming through an annual subscription for 26 and 27 next school year for video access to Screen Ages, the next chapter addressing mental health in the digital age at SHS. This membership will also allow SPS and South Shore Digital Wellness to collaborate on showings of this video in the pack or at the reel in the harbor for the SPS community at large. So we're very appreciative of South Shore Digital Wellness. Last area is physical education. Physical education supplies are used, as you can imagine, we try to treat things as respectfully as we can, but rackets, balls, sticks, props, mats, nets, they all get a high level of use and need to be replaced. There's a level funded request for all grade levels, except for the high school and Gates, where there's a $75 increase to account for inflation. Just as a reference point, if you've ever seen those awesome foam gator balls, which is a coveted PE resource, a 6-pack of those foam balls is actually $75, and that's the best, pretty competitive pricing. So things are expensive, and things are certainly expensive. At SHS, where is again that budget's telling a story, which is a story outside of the budget to tell here. At SHS, we're grateful and excited to expand our integration of lifeline activities such as golf-related skills. In addition, the addition of the new golf simulator at the high schools, generously sponsored by Shore, has sparked this excitement with our staff. So thank you very much to Shore. Another sailor shout out to Will Stewart, SHS PE teacher, for his vision and leadership making this happen. Also appreciate Dr. Rob and SPS facilities team for their assistance with support items like minor electrical work that needed to have this project come to fruition. The last item is our physical education repair equipment line. This line
supports our more substantive and quite honestly special school-related programming and equipment, such as our maintaining in our fitness center and our outdoor and indoor adventure education elements. This line item is level funded and is used to repair equipment, and also for contracted services such as routine preventative maintenance visits on our fitness equipment, annual inspections on our adventure elements, and related repairs to any of that equipment. If funds permit and things don't break or need to be repaired, such as helmets, harnesses, or any equipment, belts on a treadmill, if the funds replace, we will use any remaining funds to usually cycle in a new piece of equipment, cardio piece of equipment in our cardio loft at the high school annually. Brian, another shout out to you. Thank you for your ongoing supporting our ongoing professional development on the November PD Day. We had the benefit of working with a project adventure trainer to ensure we are up to date with safety and community building facilitation practices. Along these lines, I'm really excited for our future C director. I'm pretty sure they're going to be impressed with how our wellness educators expertly support the development of all of our students' social emotional skills through adventure education curriculum, including our outdoor adventure course and indoor climbing elements. There was one home run swing I took that doesn't look like it will be funded this go around. This request is not expected to be funded. There was a $100,000 submission for a re-envisionment and remodeling of the lower level of our Scituate High School Fitness Center. The equipment in there is approximately 25 years old. I've been here for 23 years. The Colby Cutler Fitness Center was renovated by virtue of significant community-wide effort about 23, 24 years ago. So just to ensure the highest standard for our athletic departments who win championships in our PE programming, this remodeling should be planned for in the future at some point. Again, not an emergency, but should be planned for, and it could be completed in phases. So that $100,000 benchmark is the highest of the three quotes we got, and there are three distinct phases, so it's not necessarily an all or nothing piece. And I think our curriculum review cycle in a few years might be able to phase it into that, but we'll see.
Greg,
I'll keep being a pain.
what were the improvements that were done to the Colby Cup? I feel like we.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been amazing. So a few years ago with Dr. Rob's predecessor,
Dr. Dutch.
Dr. Dutch, he was great. We recently did the flooring in there was carpeting,
Okay,
and it was really rancid, and we replaced it with it was gross. We replaced it with rubberized flooring, and at that point in time, we also encapsulated the ceiling. It was fibrous. I don't know what the ceiling was made of, so they put in a drop ceiling as well.
Okay.
So painting, mirrors, flooring, and ceiling really refurbished it nicely, but we really didn't touch any of the equipment at the time.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks, everybody. I'm Tammy Rundle. I'm the Department Chair for School Counseling. Nice to see you all again. Just in terms of my budget, we look at our district priorities are obviously Section 504 placement and also home hospital tutoring for students that we are level funded for that. And we're also looking at curriculum PD this summer to support the MyCap initiatives for 6 through 12 students, 6 through 12th grade students and counselors. And we'd also like to use some of the money for social and emotional small groups through the MTSS WIN blocks for contract services at the high school. We are continuing to promote our college exploration application portal, SCORE, and we're finding that more and more students at the younger grades are asking for more college planning. So we will be bringing that down to the lower grades as well. Just a shout out or a plug in, we are having an early college planning night on Thursday for all 9th and 10th grade caregivers at 5:30 here in the library. We'd love to see your attendance at that. Our standardized testing budget has gone down a little bit because of our 10th grade enrollment has gone down, and we provide the PSATs for all sophomores, and we've been doing that for the past 3 or 4 years, which has been really helpful for students to get used to the type of test the SAT is. And also we use some of the data, it's called AP Potential, to help support and encourage students to take AP level coursework. And then in terms of our elementary and Gates counseling budget, all of that will be level funded for next year.
Aunt Kelly Bell, I'm the nursing department chair. In terms of the nursing budget this year, we just have a couple things to talk about. Building-based health office supply is level funded, and the nurses use this for day-to-day operations in their health offices, as you can imagine. And the department chair line will look like an increase, however, it reflects expenses that have always existed and have been funded through regular operations, but now they're being allocated to a dedicated line for better tracking. For things such as our emergency stock medication for epinephrine, albuterol, our AED pads and batteries, our electronic medical record system, which needs to be renewed annually, which also provides each of the school nurses a direct link to the Massachusetts immunization system, which is a great benefit for us and for families. As well as our licensure fee. We have to be licensed as a lab to the state of Massachusetts because we perform glucose testing and ketone testing. So it includes that fee as well.
Great, thank you. I'd like to invite up our remaining presenters.
Good evening. Similar to the elementary principals, I have three lines, the replacement equipment line, the admin supply line, and the general supply line. All three lines have been level funded or reduced. In terms of replacement equipment, we are at the point where we do need to start replacing some of the tables that exist. And with increased enrollment, we need a little more furniture to make sure that everyone has a seat and a chair.
Fair enough. I guess
yes.
we can probably spin that.
The big item in our admin supply budget for this year is additional handheld radios. We have 4 that work in the office. They have about a shelf life of about 5 years, so we're going into year 7. So we anticipate needing more of those. And for general supplies, those are just general supplies. So those are the 3 for Gates.
Hi, Mark Lorraine, Scituate High School. Very similar to what every other school has talked about. We have 3 lines as well, level funded. And I'd like to say, like, we're pretty lucky in Scituate to have the funding and support that we have. So I want to start with that. It's, you know, as I meet with other principals around the districts and around other schools, it's not always like that. So thank you for all your support and the funding. We have in our business admin line, it's level funded. That goes towards office supplies, like Mr. Beatty had said. Our general supply line is used for printer equipment, toner, cartridges, paper, things that we need to run our building. And then the big one, the building admin replace equipment line, is we're in the process also of replacing desks and chairs. We do 2 or 3 rooms a year. It does get very pricey. It's pretty expensive. So we're looking to maybe 2 more rooms next year. I know English needs them. And literally, as I walk through the building, there are some desks. We've got some big kids at small desks. So we're trying to upgrade that. And we take notes. And if the desks are in good shape, we'll transfer it to another area so we don't waste it. But there's certainly a need for more desks and chairs. My wish list is, you know, like I believe a couple of other principals I've mentioned, is the math teacher of 0.1 math specialist, which I think we really need to help fill some of the gaps that we're seeing with some of our students, and have somebody that could be proactive in helping these students. It would be a big need for us.
Hi everyone, Jackie Frangello, Director of Educational Technology. So in my budget narrative, I have it broken down a little bit differently. We are district-wide. We do support all staff, students. We support network. We support educational resources, tech side for the classrooms and students. So in my budget narrative, I have it broken down to where I've highlighted our Chromebook refresh and our staff laptop refresh because they are two big items in our budget. Obviously, our student Chromebooks, where each year our 6th grade students, that's when they get issued their one-to-one. This coming next school year, we will be doing our refresh slightly differently, where our 6th grade will be getting it, their one-to-one device, but we will be focusing on grades 3, 4, and 5 and refreshing the Chromebook cards at the elementary so we can keep them up to date and properly functioning for all types of testing that needs to happen down at that level. So the devices do have to be a certain make, model, and everything. So that's our biggest thing. So we did have to increase our numbers for the devices that we will be purchasing. Very similar on the staff laptop side. We are on like a 5-year cycle, so we do have some laptops that are coming to end of life, so they will need to be refreshed, swapped out, and then we also account for repairs, damages, new staff, those types of things. On the network side, we have a couple of a few things here that are pretty costly. We did upgrade our firewall this past year, and thank you to Julie Ward for supporting us and helping us in getting a grant to help fund the cost of that because they are extremely expensive. But between Julie and Dr. Rob and the whole central office team with providing funding to make sure that we did have a safe, secure, and fully functional firewall to help support the network and all of the traffic that flows through our buildings on a daily basis. There is an annual licensing that does come with that. It came with our old one as well, but this one here, we don't know. This is a rough estimate of what the new licensing renewal will be. The good thing is that it does fall under E-rate funding, where E-rate will reimburse us up to 40% of that renewal cost. This is, like I said, just an estimate because we just put the firewall in. They can't give us what the new licensing will be until about July. So this is just a placeholder. We're hoping it's going to be much lower. VMware, this is another one. This is a pretty hot topic in the tech world right now across all districts. Our VMware licensing, the cost for that has increased drastically. So whereas before the VMware licensing, it would be maybe $5,000 for 3 years. The licensing just jumps to where I think this coming year we'll be paying about $10,000 just for 1 year. So our VM infrastructure is also very old and will require an update at some point. So we're kind of working on that and exploring different options. There aren't many options right now, but we're hoping that with the pressure that VM has been putting on districts, that other companies will start coming out with more better solutions and more economical. So we're kind of keeping our eye on that, and we're just gonna kind of ride it out until then. As you may recall, we did a big switch project update a couple of years ago around the district. Unfortunately, Jenkins was not included on that because of the amount of switches that they have and the layout of the switches in their building. They have about, I would say, 20 switches just in that building, and they're all scattered. They're in classrooms, they're in little closets. It's not ideal. So Jenkins was not included in that, but their switches are just as old as the switches that were replaced 2 years ago. So we would like to start to work on a plan to get Jenkins to a more updated network infrastructure, especially with Cushing and Hatherley condensing down, they'll be getting more students, they need to open up and have other classrooms. So we're currently working on a plan of taking all the switches, creating a central IDF where they all are. We're hoping to also eliminate and not need as many switches. So that's what this project here is. This will also be covered, part of it will be covered under E-rate. So we're currently in the process of working on that and trying to get numbers. So this is once again just a placeholder, but hopefully something that we can be working on. One new thing that I added here, it's a little thing, but it really is a big thing. So we have partnered with the Education Cooperative where they help us work with a lot of the educational technology companies that I'm sure you've heard everyone talk about tonight that they're partnering with to have ST Math, Savas, all the different programs. What they do is they help us manage the data privacy to make sure that all of our students' personal PII information is properly protected. So if there are any breaches down the road, we have all the contracts and assurance from all these companies that they're going to back us and support us and make sure that our students' data, is as safe as possible. So it's a little cost, but it really is a big help to the district, considering that one of the things that we've been focusing on the past couple of years is cybersecurity in all different areas. So this is just one piece. And then lastly, I know this was not granted this year, but maybe in the future, we are looking to try and expand the technology department. We are a very small but mighty team, but with all of the tech that is coming out and that's throughout all of our buildings to help best support our staff, our students, and our families, it would be very, very helpful for us to have an additional person to where we can make sure that we are trying to get everyone's needs met in a timely manner, considering that a lot of the curriculum is revolving around tech, whether it's devices, programs, and then our network, manages that as well. So we have a lot of different pieces that we are managing on a daily basis. So that is tech. Thank you.
Before special education begins, one comment I wanted to make about technology is that we have tripled our technology budget over the last 3 years. And we've done that to avoid the capital items that were in the past. So up until 2 years ago, there was always a capital item floated for technology on the town side. And it supplemented our budget. We've really tried over the last 2 to 3 years to incorporate those needs into our operating budget. And Jackie's done a great job consolidating that, making it for one voice, making sure that everything is working. But I just think it's important to note, because you'll see later when we look at the slides, a significant increase in technology over the last 3 or 4 years is for that reason. So we are owning our technology for the schools. That's important to do.
Good evening, Scott Payne, I'm the athletic director. And as most of the other departments, our department is level funded as well. And honestly, that works out very, very, very well for us. I think in the 5 years that I've been here, we've been able to do some really good things within the department. A lot of our money is allocated towards personnel, coaches, officials, assigners, and game management. And then the biggest other portions of our budget are like consumable supplies, balls, as Greg was saying, equipment gets, it takes a beating if it's used and it needs to be replaced. We've got a really good uniform cycle in place now with the purchase of new softball uniforms for the spring. Every varsity team will have a uniform that is 5 years or less. So we're hoping that we can get 6 to 7 years out of a new uniform if we properly care for them. And we'll be able to, every season, every year buy 5, 6, 7 teams new uniforms. That's at the varsity level, and then they would get passed down. And we do buy new uniforms for some varsity teams if the uniforms that they have are in a state that they're just not wearable. So from a budget standpoint, we're in a really good place. We've been able to do some pretty neat stuff over the past few years, and just through our budget and through the generosity of Shore and in conjunction with the town and the rec department and the youth programs. We have the new softball fence, which softball really needed, and the trailer that transport that to set it up and take it down. We have a new wrestling mat, which is beautiful. I don't know if anybody's seen the new scorers table that's in the gym with the video display board. That wasn't part of the budget, that was free. That's being paid for through the advertising. And ultimately, we hope that will generate $2,500 to $5,000 a year in revenue after it's paid for. Sure, as Greg spoke about with the golf simulator, that'll be such a great tool for our golf teams to use in the phys ed classes. Just need to get some final bits of electrical work done on that, and that'll be up. Shore also bought some cheerleading equipment, training equipment for them to use, which has helped, and we do have a new cheerleading mat coming as well. Other things like new padding on the walls in the gym, new electric motors for the baskets to raise them up and down. Here's a big plus is we have 2 additional AEDs now. One is portable, and the other one in the springtime will be mounted on the back of the softball dugout, so in between the baseball and the softball field. So that will give us 2 mounted outside, 1 mounted between the 2 gyms in the portable one. We were able to purchase 6 portable radios that are significant help during athletic events, especially when we're outside, for us to be able to communicate with the people that are working. Obviously, the new tennis courts, which was a town project, but has benefited the athletic program here as well. And we purchased equipment and supplies that will be used by the high school teams out on those courts. One of our biggest needs is storage. We're always battling for storage, and through the construction with the new athletic team rooms, we gained storage space, which is very significant for us. And we're in the process right now trying to work with a couple of the youth programs to put another 3-bay unit out in back of turf 3 next to the other unit that's already there. And 1 bay would go towards youth football, 1 would be for youth lacrosse, and 1 would be for us. DPW is willing to do the work to pour the slab for the unit. The youth programs are willing to pay for the unit as long as they can each have their own bay, so that will be a good help for us as well. And then the updates with the new team rooms that took place with the training room. We have a legitimate, very first-class high school training room now with 2 training tables, and Chris does a great job with the kids in there. So that's worked out well. And we were also able to purchase a new utility card for the athletic trainer. So he has his own card, I have my own card. Our campus is large, and now with Central Fields online for baseball and softball, that card is street legal. So if Chris had to, he could stay in the card and go to Central Field if he had an injury over there. One of the other things that our budget has allowed us to do is at the unified sports programs, which has been fantastic. And then, through Bryn Nyberg's work and everybody else that's been involved in that administration, we've been named a unified champion school. So that's a pretty exciting thing to happen with that new program. So level funded, that's great, appreciate it, thank you.
Good evening. Michelle Bober, Director of Special Education. So basically, as everyone else said, pretty much level funded for special education for next year. We are keeping the same amount of staff, but we will be shifting some, a special ed teacher from one school to another, and paraprofessionals to follow and support the students as they move up from grade to grade or school to school. In terms of supplies, again, level funded. The money that we have for supplies we use for our psychological testing, preschool testing, supplies for specialized curricula, adaptive equipment for students, those kind of things. The big picture is that we have really great programs. We need to continue to staff them adequately and support them with the resources they need to help our kids be successful here in Scituate schools. That helps the students to be in the least restrictive environment, but also helps you manage the out-of-district costs. So I'm pretty proud to mention that last year, this year, and next year, we're pretty stable around 3.9 million, give or take 50,000, which I know is a lot of money, but that's for the out-of-district tuitions for our students. But given that the cost went up 14% a few years ago and costs go up every year, it still is pretty good to be around the same, ballpark figure each year. That is, conservative estimate. What I know right now, as our student needs change, we have to adapt. But pretty confident that the budget, going forward, will represent the needs of the kids. So I want to thank everyone because it's definitely a collaboration, and our students on IEPs here are in general ed, most of the time, and so all the resources that we have for the whole district helps all the kids in special education. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone. I think it's interesting. We've never approached our budget this way, and I think that this is an interesting perspective to kind of see how it results the way it does, I guess. So I appreciate it. So, Michelle, thank you. I know this is your last budget, so thank you for all you've done. You've done a great job here. But I always have to ask, I know you already mentioned it, but out of district, you're comfortable with the level of funding. I know you already said it, but every year I have to ask.
So we were able to get a good amount for circuit breaker for, that we got this year that we'll use for next year. So, so comfortable, yes. It's not a lot of wiggle room, but we did bring 3 kids back, but we had 2 kids went out. Yep. So that's the nature of the situation, and we don't want to ever, deprive a student who truly needs that out of district placement. Yep. And we can't say we don't have the money and all that. So but again, I think, keeping our programs going, supporting our kids here is like the best,
No, it's great. I have to ask.
Pretty comfortable. I mean, unless there's another crazy 14% increase. Another thing that's happening is we're using the collaborative a little bit more, and that tends to be a little bit less expensive than the other out-of-district programs. So
great. Thank you. Thank you for all your work over the years. And Scott, I just had one question for you, because I know that we're doing the equity audit for sports. I didn't know if the outcome would have any impact on how we spend our dollars in athletics.
We're waiting to see that. So I think right now we're waiting to see that. Report's due to be April 30th. I think the impact might be how we redistribute some of it, but the bottom line isn't going to change.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who came tonight and presented here. We really appreciate your narratives and your perspectives, and it really helps us to, and for families and folks in the community to understand how the dollars are spent and, the impact that it has on children. So it really is evident the amount of work and thoughtfulness that you put into these. So we really, really appreciate that. Did you want to?
I was going to say exactly that.
Helps us advocate too. Yeah. Being able to tell the story of how the money is used helps us to be the best advocates we can. Just part of our job.
No, thank you. I think it's been great to hear directly from each department, each principal, what is happening. So in that area, we do have our kind of traditional presentation, but Irene and I will go relatively quickly through it. So we don't want to repeat a lot of what's been said, but I think it's important. So these are really backup slides to everything that has been said. But I'm going to let Irene go through revenue and expenses, and then a little bit about how the dollars are spent from a 60,000 foot view, and then we'll look at each building pretty quickly.
Can we just ask questions as we go?
Of course. That would be easier, actually. If we're on a particular topic or building, that would be great.
Okay, so as I said in the introduction to the electronic binder that you all received a copy of, I have been all budget all the time for the last 3 months. Here's the result. So the first thing we have to determine is how many, dollars do we expect to have? And here we start with how much money we're gonna get from the town, as a percentage of the total that they get. And you'll see that for FY27, we're looking at 50,294,317, which is a 4% increase. In fact, 4.05 to be fair from the previous year. And I'm not going to read through these; you'll all go crazy. But you can see that the third to last column, it says FY27 proposed. Go all the way to the bottom. Notice that our total revenues we're expecting to be $55,029.61. Sorry about that. So I'm going to say it again because I think I said it wrong. $55,029,061. Slow down, calm down. Okay, so again, this represents in total a 4.57% increase from last year. And we're expecting that the state and federal grants are pretty much level. The state's going up slightly. Revolving accounts are anticipated to be stable. And of course, we're given the number by the town in terms of what they'll provide. It's worth noting that obviously the money we get from the town is the largest part of our budget. Our enrollments, these were the enrollments from last year, 2,744. And our enrollment for this year, bottom right corner, 2,726, basically flat. Okay, technically down 18 students, and if you look at the projections, which I believe are in here, no, we don't have that one in here, it's pretty much flat going forward. No one's anticipating a huge change. We're not going to probably not see a huge drop, or else we're not going to see a huge spike. Now, 2 years from now or next year or whenever somebody says, hey, we're building a 1,000 unit apartment building, let me know. Because we'll have to adjust accordingly, but I'm unaware of any such thing happening. So here we move into our salaries and expenses portion of the budget. This is how we're going to spend the money. And I apologize for the fact that some of these don't have the percentages on them. I worked with Excel for a very long time, and because some of those smaller ones are so crowded together, this was the best I could do. Okay, but you'll see how our budget looks based upon each school, our special education from the central point of view. That does not include the special education teachers at each of the schools, our transportation, et cetera, how that all falls out. Salaries versus expenses, not surprisingly, 80% of our budget is salaries. And that is not atypical, for a municipal school district. Our expenses run about 13%, and our out-of-district expenses are about 7%. And in terms of the total budget, 71% of the money is spent for, quote, regular education, and 29% is spent on special education. That includes everything. That means all the teachers, all the supplies, the transportation, the out-of-district tuitions, et cetera. Okay, this is the big picture. What you want to focus on is that dark green column towards the right. That just gives you a total amount for each school. And then for each of the departments outside of the school, the special education department, the central office, your department chairs, your athletics, technology, the early childhood, and then transportation. The most important part is very down on the bottom there, which shows you that our expenses equal our revenues. And thus we have a zero. Okay, so my expenses minus my revenues are zero. It is a balanced budget.
I just had a question.
Yep.
So if you look at the supplies line for Gates 211 and SHS is 506.
Yeah.
Can you help me understand why there's such a big difference, given that enrollment at both of those schools is very close to the same?
If you can hang on, it's a slide later on.
Okay,
So we'll
perfect.
show the details of
Okay,
that.
great.
Yeah,
There are
and
more
you'll
things.
I don't know if I
see.
can hold on.
I'm sorry.
It's primarily.
I promise it's coming.
But I'll give you a sneak preview.
That's
A
okay.
lot of it is because of the sheer variety of programs going on in a high school.
Okay.
Things like our Project Lead the Way are a
Got
good example.
Okay.
The other thing we did add to this chart, as opposed to previous years, was an FY26 comparison. So we had never put the prior year comparison. So now you can see all the way to the right a comparison to the current year in terms of the overall spending.
Yeah, so you'll see that the high school actually hasn't gone up, a whole lot different. It's that 5% increase.
We also kind of blew past it, but I think it's what I found interesting about enrollments is it's true enrollments may be flat, but if you drill down into the schools, I think as a school committee, it's really important to be mindful and supportive of the big jump that the middle school is seeing. And so while it's flat, we're seeing changes within schools. So paying attention to that, I think is going to be really important as we think about budget allocation.
Oh, yeah, so this is why that bottom line is a good one to look at. What's coming up from here? So if I know that I've got 193, students in kindergarten this year, that means in 8 years, okay, they're gonna be freshmen. And like, whoa, okay, that actually trends about right, because we probably, let's assume it was totally flat everywhere. We're gonna lose a few kids after 8th grade, primarily to the vocational schools. To our member vocational school, and then also to the agricultural schools, where we typically have 1 or 2 students, going. Okay, this is a quick look at the full-time equivalent positions for the district. I know, I'm sorry for the, what was the word you used on that, Tom? The aspect ratio. I had a heck of a time getting this copied in here. But the bottom line is that in FY25, we had 511.25 full-time equivalent positions. For this year, we have 515.65. And for next year, we do have an increase at 519.45. And you can see here, you heard the various school principals talk about this. Cushing didn't mention this, actually she did, that they do have 1 para, they've been losing 1 para. Hatherley, on the other hand, as she mentioned, which is growing, is adding an elementary teacher, because they're gonna need now to have the 3rd grade go to 3 sections, and 1 more special education teacher, as her sub-separate program is in need. No changes in Jenkins. Wampatuck is losing 1 elementary teacher and 1 para. At the Early Childhood Center, while we're not changing the number of people, we have increased the paras from 0.8 to 0.9 full-time equivalent. Okay, so that makes it look like we've gone from 11.4 to 12.6, which we have, but it's not because we've added any people. We have simply increased the hours for those paras, and that is because we went to the 5-day-a-week program for the 4-year-olds. That's where that comes from. Gates, you can see, is going to be getting 2 paras, and that's because they've got students coming up, from the other schools who have needs for a para. And then in the high school, we're adding the 0.6 drama teacher and 1 para. And then no change in FTE for technology, but we have increased the technology para from 184 to 220 days.
And I will get this chart to the committee. I apologize, it wasn't in the presentation, but we will get it to you first thing tomorrow.
Okay, so I'm just going to quickly, blow through the schools. Stop me if you have a question on any particular one. So this is the overall view. You'll see that Cushing has increased a total of 3%. 3% for salaries, 10% for supplies, but supplies is such a small portion that the overall increase for the school is 3%. And then this breaks it down by particular category for the salaries, your elementary teachers, your kindergarten, et cetera. And then this is the supplies. Now, this all fits, all of the elementary schools fit on one page. So again, look at the green column, that's this year. And it is a 10% increase, and you'll notice that most of that is right here in the science supply line. And you heard, I'm gonna confuse Heather and Megan. Heather mentioned that she's back there urging me on, going into the new science program, and that is gonna require a fair amount of supplies.
And just for the sake of context, each of these expense charts speak to everything that was just talked about. So if anybody's wondering where is all the money that was just talked about housed in the budget, they're housed on all of these expense lines.
This is Hatherley. Again, here's my overall. Notice that they're up a bit more at 7.49%. No surprise, since they're the one getting a couple more positions. And then this just breaks it down by the positions. And then again, here's your supplies, again, up 19%. And notice that 72% increase on the science supply line. And then here we have Jenkins. Okay, notice that they're actually down a little bit, and that's because they're not adding any staff. Okay, and they've got, I believe she mentioned a couple of retirements. And here's their salaries, and here are the supplies. And while the total's only gone up 5%, again, you can see the bump in science supply. And then here we have Wampatuck. And again, you've got your salaries. Again, remember that they are losing a position or two, so their change from last year is 0.92%. Here you've got your salaries for your different types of teachers. And here you've got your expenses. Okay, the Early Childhood Center. Again, we know that they've got that increase, primarily due to increasing the paras from 0.8 to 0.9, and that, you know, they're going to be 0.1 of them. So this one is the Gates Middle School. You'll notice that they're up 2.45%. And here's all the information on the various personnel. This one is the supplies.
One of the
reasons. I was just gonna say, this is page 1 of 2. So if you're looking at the bottom line going, whoa, wait a second, 0, that's just for the health services supply. You want me to go to the next page then?
Yes, please. I wanted to mention the Gates expenses, why it would be perceived as a huge cut. Last year, when we did the social studies textbooks, we put over $200,000 in the high school and middle school to cover those. So for this coming year, English does not need that kind of increase. So the $200,000 did automatically transfer into English. The department chair mentioned, you know, the better part of $100,000 in needs. We've incorporated all of those, but it's not the same level of spending as social studies. So that number came down significantly at the middle school because we did remove the social studies text line and redistributed it to other areas. And actually it's redistributed throughout the elementary and middle school and high school where we talked about not only science but English as well. So that's one of the reasons it might be perceived as a little different from the high school in terms of the numbers.
And then as far as schools go, last but not least, Scituate High School. You see that they are up 3.64% in total. And there you see their salaries for the various teachers. And again, this is, you were looking at the supplies line, but notice that variety in terms of types of teachers, subject area teachers, which is a bit different than the elementary schools. And then again, we have 2 pages for supplies. You're seeing the first page here. And then I'll go to the next page. There's page 2. And then down at the bottom, you'll notice again, they are down 13%, not because they've been cut, but because they too, last year, needed that extra bump for the social studies curriculum. And fortunately, the English curriculum is not as expensive.
And I think, to address the question of the difference between the Scituate expenses of the high school as well as the middle school, the high school carries graduation expenses, which are more expensive. The high school also carries more expenses in guidance as well. And so if you look throughout, they also carry more expenses in music than the middle school
I was
as
just
well.
gonna
So,
add that.
yeah, there's a
Music,
couple
yeah.
of bigger areas there.
Yeah, high schools are expensive. And if you ever look at the Chapter 70 funding formula, and they give the dollars, per activity based on whether it's a elementary student or a middle school student, et cetera, the most expensive students are vocational students, followed by high school students.
I don't know if it's possible, I remember in the binder, you started the habit of these great notes to the right. And so not all supplies are created equal. And so I just wonder if even an asterisk that gives those examples, like you just said, high school graduation, music, and I'm like, oh, of course. Even just a couple of categories would help the public reading this to know that that's why it's more expensive.
Sometimes with clear supplies, they think very basic.
Yeah, they do. I mean,
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right, they're like, wait a second, if there's only 20 people difference, Howard, right? So I
Right,
wasn't
why is
thinking
it
about.
so much more? Yeah.
I wasn't, the broadness of that category, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just having
Music
some
instruments.
examples, that makes,
Programs.
as soon as you said those two, it made total sense. So just adding a note would be helpful, I think.
Yeah, just a little more detail.
Yeah.
And I think when you prepare something for town meeting, maybe something that talks about the negative numbers on so many schools, like how you've been explaining that to us.
Yeah.
Just because it doesn't look like, oh, wow, did we slash the high school budget? No, just.
Reallocated
Yes.
to show how the reallocations were done.
So it's a simple explanation.
Yeah.
I think it helps.
Okay, so you've already seen this one, which was the athletics. And so this is the special education. You'll notice that you'll see the salaries totaled at the bottom. These are district-wide positions, meaning that they are not assigned to any one school. They float as needed or do a fair amount of work kind of in concert, with other staff. And you'll notice that increases 3.2%. You'll see up here, as most of you know, notice that the FTE proposed for Michelle for next year is 0 because she's retiring. Okay, and to be determined will be whoever, we find to come in and fill the position. I won't say replace her because you can't replace her to take the position. And then these are the various expenses. One thing just to point out here, and this was done in part to aid me in my reporting, the private school tuition has been broken down between day tuition and residential tuition. So that the only reason those two are broken out is for that. It is something that helps me with my reporting to DESE. And the central admin salaries, you'll notice that they are up in total 2.97%. And in case it wasn't obvious, what I did with people who had been in the budget for this year, but eventually were not, such as Dr. Burkhead, goes to a 0 to be determined as you go through your search process. And then here, currently it looks like, Tom won't be there, and I would, and we'll see what happens, because I do know that for some reason he's not superintendent. That means he goes back to being the business manager, and I'll wait. I hope it works out, differently. And then down here, you'll see the same thing where our DEI director, Jamel Adams, has been replaced, again, not replaced, but the new position, the SEA director, will be the full-time equivalent that is filled for next year.
Karen, just to clarify, I know you mentioned it, but just the private school tuition, you separated into private school and residential, and also collaborative.
Right.
Those three equal the out of
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so I said day,
I actually
you're right, I
preferred-
could actually break that
I
down
preferred
even
this
further.
way.
Yeah,
This is very, I think
like
it, you can see.
right, gives you a
mistake.
more fine,
Yeah,
a more finessed
Yeah.
look at what's going on.
thank you.
Tom, I was wondering, maybe this isn't the place to talk about, but since the SEA director was mentioned, in the Excel spreadsheet, there's costs for the pair and then character strong. I feel like with this new person, are you gonna give them an opportunity to weigh in on those things before we move forward, or?
A little at the same time.
Okay.
So I'm really hoping the new person can start, and we'll talk about this in a future meeting in this year,
Yeah.
in March, April, May, and really give them a chance to dig in and see what we're doing.
Okay.
So I want them to review what we're currently doing.
Okay.
And I'm not sure we'd make immediate changes in September, but they'd absolutely have a chance to review everything that we're doing.
So you're gonna
next
be
year.
open to that item changing if they thought, or being adjusted in some way? Okay.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Okay, and you'll see that we have a 1.6% increase in the total expenses for the central office.
Not many changes there. In your packets, there's a breakdown of district contracted services, just so you have an understanding of some of the contracted services that we are currently using. And that's broken down in your packet, but basically this is going back and forth to what we need from one year to the next. We did increase electric and gas a little bit, just to be sure. It's a very cold winter, and just to make sure that we are covered not only for this year, but for next year as well. But honestly, even though it is a 1.6% increase, most of that is the gas and electric kind of being back to normal. Tried to keep this really flat.
So is the 85K that is under the weird line of school committee teacher professional?
It's still there.
That 85 is the rolled up number from the Excel spreadsheet that shows the different EDs that were?
No.
No.
So what that is reimbursement to the teachers for their classes. It's a very strange place to put it, but if I
That's
move
what
it-
that 85 is, okay, so that's not the same
No,
as the
so-
PD for, okay.
What we're gonna show in a moment is Mr. Lynch, I believe it's $475,000 total. That's
Okay.
in the PD budget.
That's
A
why,
piece of
that's why
that
I
is
thought
all
that
of
was really, okay,
Yeah, there's a difference between individual PD versus district-wide.
yeah, it's just not, it's just
District-wide
hard,
is-
that's such a weird
Oh,
item
I
line,
know.
and it just labeled.
It is, I
Yeah.
try to move it
Makes it look like
and
we
then,
have-
which.
It's like we're
which
just,
not
it's
at all.
like we have like a
Very
slush
much
fund
fun.
or something.
It's not yours, sorry.
No,
It's STA contractual money,
Yeah.
it just happens to be in that spot.
Yeah.
Maybe we can add a little note next to that.
Well, it does say
Oh, yeah.
contractual
Oh, does
PD,
it? Okay.
but I don't,
But
that
that's-
So we
wasn't
could
clear
call
enough
it
for
teacher
me.
course reimbursement.
Yeah, but just, yeah, that would be better.
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to
Yep.
like-
Right, because it's a little misleading.
It's a lot.
Like, oh wow, those people
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah, we can
Salary or
name it
something.
whatever we want.
No, it's
Yeah, just to
contractual
clarify, that would be
support,
zero.
Teacher reimbursement, yes. It's teacher course reimbursement, they get,
That makes sense. Okay.
and just where it's housed.
I knew it was in a weird place.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up is technology. You'll see here the salaries. One thing that's not noted here, it is worth noting that two of these people, where it says tech staff, Ian Kidder and Tara Gaudette, are actually teachers. They're in the teachers unit, and they go to the different schools and, give courses to the students. So a little bit different than, for example, somebody like Susan, who's, in my office helping me figure things out on the computer. And then this is the category. I broke it down very similar to the way that Jackie mentioned. So I've got all the hardware, put together. Notice the Chromebooks, the tablets, etc. This also includes things like the panels, the software, the different licenses, the security programs, etc. And then the contracted services, which is our E-rate consulting, the network project that she mentioned, for Jenkins is here, and then summer help. And this is the curriculum.
Yeah, this slide is just some of the district-wide curriculum review cycle expenses. So benchmark data assessments under contract services, that 186,000. The science, tech, and engineering PD the ELA curriculum review process. So instead of materials, you see this budget's a little higher just with contracted professional development services, and same thing with the line that's 97,000, the curriculum professional development. So PD for ELA, PK through 12. You heard Megan talk about writing for elementary, as well as Laura talking about secondary focus on writing. So that's a lot of that number, as well as budgeting some amount for the curriculum review that's beginning with school counseling in other departments. So that's the slight increase here in capturing a lot of the district-wide PD.
Ryan, when you and the staff think it's appropriate, do you think the school committee will get to hear about some of the great experiences that folks are having in the PD? Because I know there's so much good work going on in so much social studies and math and ELA and writing. So it'd be great to hear not just the quantitative, but like I'd love to hear like what teachers are thinking about how they're being supported or not. So again, so we can continue to advocate if you're all feeling like you're not being supported, like what do we need to be talking about? So it'd be awesome to hear. I don't want to put a burden, but just a few people come and share maybe their experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And we put together the schedule for the teaching and learning updates for our departments, and perhaps given that a lot of people are in the audience, they can use that request and infuse the presentation with anecdotal teacher feedback about professional development, which is huge. Like the social studies teachers went on the national conference, and with the English teachers, and like they typically, those are just two examples, people come back just really gushing with professional enthusiasm. And so that's actually reflected in this part of the budget as well. So absolutely, we'll both have the quantitative and qualitative, and then as well the professional development. I do a professional development report once a year, and so I'll include that as well.
Because Matt is working with the consultant too, so he did hear what they're up to.
Absolutely.
And don't forget to include yourself and Dr. Rab. I've heard you guys, talking very positively about the professional development that you do.
Yeah, that's right.
Beautiful Barbara.
Actually, Marlboro's not.
So I'm just kidding, just that spot, not.
He's teasing me. I live up closer to there. Okay, and then of course transportation, and that's the drivers of course are contractual salaries. Fuel, I have not increased it that much. The reason being that fuel prices have come down. Okay, so they're looking pretty good, and they look like they're probably going to stay stable at least for next year. So I did do a slight increase, but not too much. Our bus lease, of course, is a fixed number. Our contracted services, for things we need outside. Homeless transportation, you always budget some. In a good year, you don't have any, but sometimes you can have quite a bit. And then, of course, our supplies. We come up with 1.2 million, which is about a 7.67% increase, which is actually probably about average in terms of increases. We are planning on being fully staffed at 20 drivers between buses and vans. Well, the 20 is actually just for the buses. The vans are underspent. Being fully staffed with our own drivers.
That's great.
In fact, we just had someone come in last week interviewing, he'll go on the sub list and is planning to join us, starting in August to, help round out our bus drivers. I believe that's my last slide. It is.
I have a couple questions. So can we ask questions? So you had mentioned the equity audit, and you don't have that. So when that is finished or prior, can we get an itemized list of the coaching salaries? Because I don't think it's in our Excel. I didn't see it.
It is part of Excel.
Okay, and it's in the same vein, because I'm really mindful of the stories we've heard about robotics. Can we also get the stipends for club advisors? Just so we can see, I just want to make sure that our clubs are being supported and that equity is being,
Some have grown a lot.
Yeah, that's what I want.
I don't have to wait for the audit for that.
Okay, that would be great.
So you can get a quick idea by looking at the contract, but we'll get you an actual list because there are, similar to our teachers, there are actually steps.
Yeah.
So, coaches with seniority are making more than newer coaches.
Yep.
So we'll get you the exact information, but if you were like dying to know right now.
No, it's okay, I can wait.
Yeah,
That would
take
be
a quick look at the contract for those rates.
When we look at the Excel book, I can see that there are projected salary increases for different staff members. And I'm just curious, like, I couldn't detect a pattern, and so can you talk, I know this is confidential, but like, can you talk generally about like, how is that determined? Is it like?
Sure, so I mean, every year, people rise on the steps.
Okay.
And so for anybody, they're hired in a particular step, another year of service is automatically another step.
Okay.
And so they go up to step 13 or 14, depending on what they have. Really, and so that's very easy to predict. We know from one year to the next. What's more difficult to predict are the lane changes. And so people go from masters to masters 30 to masters 45 to masters 60.
Okay.
So we're always sort of chasing that. And so very recently, Irene went through and kind of trued it up for this budget, so we know exactly what it's going to be.
Okay.
And then we always know that in future years, over the summer, somebody might complete a lane, complete a step. We're able to fund those through savings in next year's budget. So if somebody goes out on a leave, a maternity leave, we'll often save enough money. So it generally washes out so that we can manage those. And then in our contract here, if somebody's been working for 20 years, we can also predict that, and there's a salary increase there. So it's one of those areas that's a bit volatile, but we found that over time, if we just adjust it a few times a year, we're able to keep up with it. And it hasn't
I'm probably seeing steps and then lane changes, which look.
One other thing, since you said you were looking at possible patterns, it is not an even increase from lane to lane to lane.
That's what I was just asking.
It's a higher increase earlier because you're encouraging people to get to that master's.
That makes sense.
Then after that, if you want to do it, great, but we're not as encouraging.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And cables.
Yeah, totally. The last question I had, because we've been approving like donations that come in and we're being more mindful of what schools are doing in terms of raising money, I'm wondering, is this even our purview to be thinking about the athletic budget alongside what boosters raise? Like, should we be looking, I'm just curious to see like what they're paying for versus what we're paying for and how it all sort of washes out.
We're going to get there.
Okay.
So that's a piece of the FBA audit, but it's also part of my charge as the committee. Recently changed the policy so that we have to report all of that information.
Yeah, that's
I'll be
what I was
working
asking.
with the
Okay.
boosters. So it's not part of the budget, but
Okay.
eventually we will have all that broken.
Okay, well, maybe like in spring potentially, or
Late spring.
late spring,
Late
okay. Late spring, sorry. It just would be nice to see them side by side, yeah, okay. Okay.
There's no question our boosters support us well in advance of the $1 million that you saw.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
I don't have any questions, just a couple of quick, just little observations that I think. Well, I don't know. One is just thinking about policy impacts and I was thinking about first, I was like, why is someone buying a Chromebook card in 5th grade? But then someone explained, oh, it's because we no longer send them home. 5th graders, I think, was absolutely the right decision. It's like just one of those things to think about sometimes that we can't see it coming. There's an impact, a financial one. Those things are costly. And we have such little wiggle room in our budget as it is. We're now seeing that there's a real cost to that. And I think, again, it was the right move. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying it's just one of those things that sometimes when we are thinking, and that wasn't our policy anyway, that's more of a building-based policy, but I just think it's an example of how sometimes those decisions are far removed from the budget when we're making them. It's hard to see them. That's a really great point though, but when we're doing policy review,
Yeah.
it is
We don't
something we
often
should
sort of
consider is
that.
what is the budgetary impact of this change or decision?
So it's maybe something to add to our just thought process.
Policy subcommittee.
Yes. Also just
More to think about.
I was really reflecting on how helpful it is to have the curriculum review cycle. Just we saw that it was so clear when everyone was presenting, just like at what stage their department is and how they can all see that coming and how we can see it coming. That was just like, oh, so thankful to have that.
number of times how helpful it is to have the support member in writing. That just came through really clearly, so that was really nice to hear and good to know for us. Just it's important to call out. As Peter noted earlier, the budget is mostly salary. We're not looking at a lot of wiggle room in a lot of places, and so I thought it was really nice to hear how many people noted that they're able to kind of make do with loan funding, and I know it sometimes takes creativity. So I think it's just really helpful that we have people who are willing to kind of work in that space and do that. But again, just as Nicole noted, really helpful to have those narratives and the storytelling is kind of what sticks with you. I think when you look at the spreadsheet, it's like just so many numbers, really hard to remember. But
the labels don't always
for
match with
me,
what you think
what
it
will be
is.
really helpful is having heard from everyone tonight, and someone were to ask me, I think I'll be able to remember much better just from having heard it from everyone individually. So I think that new format will be helpful. That's it.
Fantastic.
You guys have any thoughts on your
What do you
first
think,
budget
guys?
hearing?
Oh, no.
Get us out here. It's interesting to see where all of the.
Actually, this clinic is very good.
Yeah.
Stamp testing, $12,000.
Yeah.
Right?
You're taking it.
Grateful by the
Yeah, but it's interesting to see
It's
where, how
cool,
much things
yeah.
do cost and the impact that they have.
Especially 'cause it's such a big budget. You
Yes.
wonder where everything goes.
Right, yeah.
It's really grateful to have.
Yes.
For others.
Right, thank you so much. Any final thoughts or anything?
No, other than, we'll be back
Yeah.
next week, so we'll certainly, there's really, if the committee has anything that you'd like us to consider, any other changes, let me know, and then we'll present a final version on next week.
All right, well, it is time for public comment, although there is nobody who is logged in virtually.
Just hold on. Let me get out of here so you can.
Except for the Kate's on there. And nobody in person. However, we will have, we're not voting on anything tonight, so plenty of time for feedback and comments. All right, nothing else. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 8:04.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.